Euronymous started a band that he thought would be truly magnificent. The other bands are doing it wrong, but Mayhem is true black metal. However, some members are drawn to this darkness even more than the creator himself. When he cannot keep up, the chaos starts to ruin him. We see Norway, and how someone narrates about life there. That someone soon introduces himself as Euronymous, the guitar player of the black metal band, Mayhem. We see him in his room with his other band members. They play inside the house. Euronymous narrates that life was easy at that time. It was all about them having fun. The band's reckless and rebellious life is displayed. They had lots of fans, but suddenly, their drummer left, so they got a new one. What they needed now was a lead singer. Eventually, they get a tape in the mail of what would be their singer. Euronymous thinks it's the perfect voice for Mayhem. They pick him up and find out that his name is Pell. The band stayed in a house together for 1 year and became good friends. Pell was depressed most of the time because he was bullied a lot. We see him lying in bed in such a state until he and Euronymous go hunting for a cat in the woods. Out there, Pell tells his friend to shoot him. He urges him, but Euronymous can't do it. At night, a party takes place with dozens of black metal fans. Pell and Euronymous put on makeup. Pell tells him they are the Lords of Chaos. Soon enough, some girls come to the party. Euronymous talks to one of them and says he's the leader of his band. But the girl never heard of them. We see the reckless party unfold, and in the morning, Euronymous observes Pell undressing outside. Then he digs up his stage clothes. With such behavior, Pell became a big influence on them. We see them perform live on stage. The girl that Euronymous spoke to earlier is in the audience. Pell engages in an extreme act while they perform, and they toss a pig's head into the audience. After the show, they sit in a restaurant, and Pell is looking less than normal. A fan comes to Euronymous to congratulate the band, but the band leader points out that he's a Scorpions fan and indirectly blows him off. Later, we see that fan at home and his Scorpions tag lies in the trash. In the next scene, Pell lies depressed in their party house. His father calls him and congratulates him on being accepted into a university. But Pell is in an agonized state and ends his life. Afterward, Euronymous arrives there, but the door is locked. He uses a ladder to climb through the window. He sees his lifeless friend, but does not seem upset. It prompts him to call 911, but he ends the call without saying a word. What he does instead is go to a store to buy a camera. He comes back to Pell and takes several pictures of him. After that, he calls one of his friends to inform him of the news. We see 3 of them gather and look at the pictures. Euronymous states this will make them famous. He gives the other 2 members necklaces that have a part of Pell in them. He wears one too. One of them objects to wearing it, saying it's wrong. But Euronymous tells him it's supposed to be wrong. Due to his consistent objection, Euronymous fires that band member, and we see him leave. Later, he narrates he had to move out of that house because he could not deal with it. The next chapter in his life had him opening a record store named Helvete, Norwegian for hell. We see a note from his family, which he hides. The girl from earlier comes to his record store. She is Anne Merritt, and she tells him she likes his place. Euronymous then takes his friends to a place he calls the Black Circle. On another day, that previous Scorpions fan arrives at Helvete. He picks up a Scorpions record there and asks Euronymous why they sell it. The owner replies they got music he won't find elsewhere, just not on display for fakes like him. This causes the guy to buy 2 records. They offer him a beer, but he says he does not drink. He gets laughed at because of that, and Euronymous realizes that he remembers him. The guy says his name is now Varg. He goes with Euronymous in his room, where he tells Varg that people all over the world make evil music. It's because they're miserable and ruled by dictators. He also says they should burn down the churches due to them being fake. In the Black Circle, we see that Varg feels out of place. There, he gives Euronymous his tape recording. The next day, he listens to Varg's tape and considers it to be perfect. However, the problem is that Euronymous doesn't have enough money. To that, Varg says he will supply the money. Following that, the band recorded their first studio recording. Varg enters the Black Circle. They meet Anne Merritt at a bar and soon take her to the Black Circle. In there, Euronymous tells her how he wants people to feel when they hear their music. She tells him that it's just some image, but Euronymous insists that it isn't. Their records get delivered to them. Varg asks when he will get paid. The leader tells him that first, they have to sell some records. After that, Varg places a lifeless animal near a church and enters it. He sets it on fire and leaves. Euronymous eats at a restaurant and observes the burning church on the news. Back at Helvete, the band gets excited about it. When Varg comes to the Black Circle, the members congratulate him for it. Shortly after, Varg punches one of the members for not operating on his level. With the church burning, Euronymous narrates that everything became a competition. Whatever he did, Varg did much better. A montage of events shows Varg causing mayhem and making a name for himself. Euronymous' future and success were vanishing behind his actions. He had to do something about it. In his office, Euronymous tells Varg that he is now the bass player. Varg is delighted, but he wants to burn down another church, so he and the band leader enter one. Varg places an explosive inside, and they leave. The duo stands and waits, but the bomb does not explode. This prompts them to go back inside. Varg starts fixing the bomb, while Euronymous sets the place on fire. When they exit, they cause more trouble nearby. Then the bomb detonates, and the flames become even bigger. The next day, Euronymous watches the burning on the news at home. The scene changes to one of the band members, Faust, drinking at a bar. A man there sees him and follows him as he leaves. He approaches Faust outside and starts touching him. Faust pushes him away and says not to do that there. The man does not listen, so Faust stabs him with a knife. He keeps doing it as the man struggles for his life. Eventually, the man passes away. The next scene, Varg and Euronymous are walking. Varg asks about his payment again, stating he needs to pay his mother back. Euronymous assures him that it's coming soon. They enter Helvete and see Faust watching the news about the attack last night. He tells them that he did it. Euronymous seems surprised by this and congratulates him. So does Varg. To celebrate, he proposes that they burn down another church. Now we see that Euronymous is troubled by this. The three of them break into a church and start causing chaos inside. Varg spills gasoline everywhere, and Faust desecrates Bibles. Euronymous, however, does nothing. They start the fire and leave. Outside, some people see them, causing the Mayhem members to run away. We are left with another tragic image of the church breaking down completely. Later, Euronymous tells the members that since all of this is escalating, they have to lay low from now on. Varg believes it to be cowardly. In future times, Euronymous is anxious about all that has occurred. He narrates that this is not what he signed up for. On the news, a reporter says that the police are still looking for the church burners. Euronymous is in turmoil. He wants out of the chaos, but he cannot find the door. And Merritt comes to him one day and takes pictures of him in his mayhem attire. Suddenly, in the midst of it, he starts kissing her, and soon they get intimate at his place. Once it's over, he lies in bed and imagines being in the woods with Pell. Terrifying images come to him. On the couch, and Merritt looks at a picture of Euronymous with Pell. She states that he misses him, but he says he doesn't. At the recording studio, Varg talks about blowing up the biggest cathedral in Norway. He and Euronymous argue about them doing it. Eventually, Varg says that Euronymous either chooses stardom or does what the band is meant to do. They cannot have it both ways. While Euronymous is with Anne Merritt, Varg calls him. He says he wants to take it to the next level, but the band leader doesn't want to do it. This prompts Varg to insult him before ending the call. Later, a journalist named Finn Tonder comes to Varg's place. Varg tells him he knows who burned the churches and informs him about the Black Circle. Finn asks how many of them are there, and Varg slips and says there are 6 of us. The photographer takes his picture, but Varg, with aggression, demands that he stops. He reveals they do these activities so they can return to their origins. They plan on destroying the biggest cathedral. Furthermore, he mentions the murder that one of them took part in. After that, Varg allows for some pictures to be taken of him, with his hair partially covering his face. He believes his identity will stay hidden that way. But when Finn and his colleague leave his home, they insult the Mayhem member for his idiocy. On the next day, the television shows Varg getting arrested. Euronymous sees it and insults Varg as well. Soon enough, they appear in the newspapers. Euronymous' father stops paying the rent for Helvete, and we see it getting taken down. Euronymous gets angry at Varg and says he messed it up for all of them. Then, he gets a call from someone associated with Caring magazine. They talk about Varg and Mayhem. While they do, Euronymous looks at the picture of Pell on the wall, and he gets flashbacks. We see him cry as he stands next to his lifeless friend on that day. Varg gets released from jail because the police have no evidence against him. Mayhem became famous after being featured in Caring. Varg, with even more power now, comes to meet Euronymous. He tells him he always takes credit for things he did not do. He also says he will release his music with his label and doesn't need Euronymous anymore. The band leader tells him they will be big soon and go on world tours. However, Varg says that tours are for posers. He believes in the real deal of black metal. Euronymous says that he does too, but it has to sell somehow. Varg retaliates by taking off the necklace containing Pell's bone piece. At that point, Euronymous reveals to him that it's a piece of chicken bone. That causes Varg to call Euronymous fake. Afterward, Euronymous comes home and his girlfriend talks to him. He starts crying. He is led to write a letter to Varg, asking for his signature so that the rights to Varg's songs would get transferred to him. At Varg's place, he states to another band member what Euronymous said. The member confirms it, but adds that he likely does not mean it. This causes Varg to laugh, and he agrees. After that, he reads the letter Euronymous sent to him. He signs it and takes a knife before leaving in anger. Later, Anne Merritt gives her boyfriend a haircut. As she does, he gets an image of being in the forest again and seeing Pell. We see him with his short hair. Soon after, Anne Merritt leaves, and Euronymous is left to wander around his flat, alone. While he sits at the typewriter, he hears a knock from his front door. It is Varg, saying he brought the contract that was sent to him. Euronymous lets him in, and Varg compliments his new hairdo. He lays the contract down and asks Euronymous to sign it. He walks away to collect a pen, but Varg thinks he's getting his taser. That makes his previous friend act confused. Varg takes out his knife and attacks him with it. Euronymous gets scared and says they could make a rumor out of this, how Varg almost destroyed him. Varg replies that, yet again, Euronymous doesn't get it. He delivers another attack on the wounded man. This prompts Euronymous to run for the door. Being in control of the situation, Varg relaxes and prepares himself a drink. While he does, Euronymous searches for his keys inside a coat. He finds them and starts opening the front door, but Varg comes to him and attacks again. The injured man still manages to open the door and knocks on his neighbor's door. A lady opens it and Varg instantly closes it. He follows that by hitting Euronymous some more. The dying man asks him why he did this. Varg says that Euronymous was going to destroy him if he didn't. Euronymous denies that and says that he did not mean it. To this statement, Varg highlights that that is exactly what he does, talk without meaning the things he says. Due to that, his life will be taken, so he delivers the final injuries to the leader of the band. While Varg escapes, he leaves a bloody print on the rail. Later, we see the police investigating the crime scene. Euronymous' demise plays on the news, and some band members watch it. Following that, the police come to Faust and arrest him. Varg gets arrested too. We see Euronymous' sister watching the news while sitting at the window, and Merritt drives somewhere and cries. The final scene shows a memorial for the creator of Mayhem. He narrates that his demise should not be sentimental. He experienced a lot of success and created the black metal band. Before tuning out, he insults the viewers as being posers for not doing anything like he did.